I did a talk at a furniture store, and now I'm in a coffee shop, so I don't know. The furniture store was good because everyone had couches. It was really nice. Yeah, they drifted it away very easily. But I think the talk was supposed to be about everyone's addicted to something, yes? So everyone has the experience of having an active mind, yes? Thought system going on and on and on. And so I would say the first addiction is mind to the idea of being a self. And that feeling of being a self is it's a sense of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. It is not the ego. The ego is a mental construction. The sense of self is a vague feeling. So when something's happening, or when something's being done, there's a feeling of you as the doer, yes? That would be the sense of self. The sense of self would be when thoughts are seen, there's a feeling that I'm the thinker of those thoughts, yes? So there's always a claiming involved in the sense of self. Because self doesn't actually have a life, so it claims one. So a simpler way to show it simply is if I put some words up here, and let's say I put money up there, and I put sex up there, and I put relationships up there. And everyone, based on their situation, would give a meaning to those words, yes? If you didn't have any money, it would mean more to you than someone who has money. So there'd be money, relationship, and sex. Now, all I need to do is add one little word, and it changes everything. And that would be my money, my sex, my relationships. Yeah? There are so many freaking stories written about my money, my sex, and my relationships. The my is the act of being identified as, or the act of claiming. Yeah? So this feeling of being a self that the mind's addicted to is a constant source of becoming because it can never be a self. There isn't a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. There is not one. But the selfing, which is a product of a mental process, is constantly becoming, yes? Becoming, but can never culminate into being a self. So it has to be going on all the time. That's why people suffer from obsession with self, because the only way the self will continue to appear to be true is if the mind's obsessed over the idea. Once the obsession stops, there wouldn't be the production of this sense of self. In other words, when we were born, the first year or two of life, there was no sense of self. It's a product of a mental process. The mental process has to develop to a certain point where it's what I call selfing. That selfing captures the interest and attention of the mind, yes? And you take yourself to be what the process is presenting, that you're a body. Yeah? As soon as the body identification is in place, now mind now has a fixed object to think about. And what it does, it thinks about it somewhere else at some other time all day. Yeah? So when you go into the past, when the thoughts go into the past, how does the thought system present you when you think about you in the past? It presents you as a body, yes? When you think about last year, you think about last year as you in a body. And when you're worrying about what's going to happen to you in the future, the you that's being represented by is a body, yes? So the thought system that we're relying on, which I would call self-centeredness, which is unreliable, that thought system that we're relying on presents you as a body. If you're listening to it all day, which most of us are, everyone is hearing it, but when you're engaged in it, you're listening to it. When you're listening to it, you're listening to it as either I'm the thinker or they're about me. That's called the bondage of self. Yeah? The bondage of self is what most of us are trying to get relief from. So the mind is addicted to the idea of being a self. It can never be a self, so it's always in the act of becoming. So it's always agitated, always working overtime. Yeah? So every time, let's say, anger moves through this apparatus, this action figure, the mind claims it, and if it happens enough, you will now deem yourself to be an angry person. Yeah? So it will see the verbs occurring in life, and as it's seeing the verbs occurring in life, it claims it as a noun. Yes? You're the one that's doing it. You're the one that's pissed off. You're the one who's worrying about next week, instead of just seeing that the mind's worrying about next week. Yeah? If you could see that life is just happening instead of happening to you, your whole experience here would be quite different. What I call it is traveling lighter. It doesn't promise that you'll change the geography of your life, because no one can do that. But you will travel lighter over all the terrain that your life has to offer. Yeah? Whatever's meant to happen to you as an action figure, you'll travel lighter through it. And that's the whole point of the my. When the my drops out, it's not my life anymore, it's life. So I see life as happening, not to me. Yeah? As soon as it makes that turn and enters this self-important loop, this is called obsession with self, and it's really bondage to this idea of being self, and it promotes a lot of suffering. Once the suffering starts occurring, you seek relief, and that's when the other addictions appear. So like for me, I suffered from alcoholism and addiction, drug addiction. I've been sober and clean about 24 years now. So my first solution to alcoholism, which was this irritability, restlessness, and discontent, being obsessed over something I'm not, my first solution to that was to get loaded. When I got loaded, I got a little relief from the primary addiction. But that addiction started producing its own consequences, yes? And it never brought me lasting relief from the primary addiction. And no matter how many other addictions you have, you never go back to the primary one. Because the primary one, you don't feel you have it. You take it to be you. It's different, yeah? When I did coke, which I did quite a lot of, cocaine, not Coca-Cola. When I did cocaine, and I did quite a lot of it, I never reached the point where I became cocaine. I never did so much that actually became coke. There was always a clear difference between me and cocaine, yes? It was a state of I'm not that. But we're even past that obsession. We're identified as what we're addicted to. The mind is identified as being a self. And when the mind's identified as being a self, no matter how hostile the effects of that is, you'll never be able to entertain being free of it. You only entertain being free as it. Yeah? It's hugely different. Most people are trying to get out of self as self, and there's no way to get out of what you're not actually in. There's no freaking way. So when you're attempting to get out of self, that's actually being in self. Yeah? Because it's like a predator and prey. In the jungle, when a predator and a prey meet, the predator usually knows it because it's got its teeth around the neck of the prey. But in this case, this mental little parasite called selfing has you by you trying to move away from it. The more, it's really trippy. If you go to bookstores now, there's a lot of books about how to get into the moment, yeah? How to really get into the moment, and then how to really, really get into the moment, and how to authentically get into the moment. All based on the assumption that you could be out of the moment. I'm saying you can't be out of any moment you've been in. You are the moment. You're not in one. And therefore you can't be out of it. You are the moment. Without you, there ain't no moment. So many people are trying to get trying to get into what they can't get out of. And then, conversely, they're trying to get out of what they can't be in. They're trying to get out of this idea of self, but it's impossible that you are one. Yeah? So this is just about clarifying the situation. Stop trying to get into something you can't be out of, and stop trying to get out of what you can't be in. Because if I go and study 2 years how to get out of obsession with self, that could be construed as obsession with self. Yes? The more I study about self would be more obsession with it. Yeah? And I notice the people who are in the process of getting out of self are the ones who are talking about self more than anyone else. Constantly talking about how obsessed they are with what they're trying to get out of. You have to see the combination there. Yeah? You're trying to get out of it as being in it. Yeah? So, when I had this hostile thing called alcoholism, which is like a parasite, it's like a mental parasite, it took over the host, and when it took over the host, it was definitely a very hostile takeover, so the natural response of the host would be to throw off the parasite. Yeah? That would be your natural inclination. Hey, something's got me, and it's treating me really bad, I want to throw it off. But the parasite has an incredible strategy. It convinces the host that it's the host. Yeah? So the selfing, the process, this mental process, convinces you are the product of the process. So when you're identified with that parasite, no matter how hostile the takeover it is, you cannot entertain being free of it because you're taking yourself to be it. So therefore you take a route of therapy, trying to socialize it. Maybe you won't flip out in the next picnic you go to, or maybe you'll have a 1-month-long relationship in your life that works. And your idea of success gets smaller and smaller and smaller because you have to tolerate something that's totally intolerable. Because your mind can't entertain being free of it because you're identified as it. Yes? You passed way past the point of obsession. Have you ever seen those movies where a lady gets obsessed with a starlet and starts wearing the same clothes and then starts looking up her boyfriend's numbers and calling them, starts going out with her boyfriend's numbers, starts killing her boyfriends, then, kills her to become her. And you go, well, that was insane. You're way past there. You're already identified. You're like, in the state of identification, you can go through tons of obsessions and never, never, never see the original one, which is the addiction to self. I mean, it's like Dracula will joyfully go on all the hunts for vampires and kill everyone he meets, but he has total protection because you never see that he's the vampire. Yeah? So this idea of being addicted to this, and then what you're addicted to causes you to forget your nature and take on its nature to be you, and then you'll defend the right to be fucked up. You'll write tons of poems about it. You'll have huge phone bills because of all the people you have to call to get some kind of agreement about how fucked up you are. But the point is, most of the anxiety is coming from what's not happening. Yeah? Right now, there is no threat here, except maybe I'll go on a long time talking and you'll be bored to death or whatever. We have locked the doors, so there's no way out. So there is basically no apparent threat here. But a lot of people may not be responding to that because they're reacting to their head, yes? And in their head, they're very, 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 very attentive to what's not happening. There are thoughts about next week, yeah? A lot of thoughts about next week, and our attention and interest has gone with those thoughts, and for all intents and purposes, we are there, not here. But what happens is when you entertain there, like, what's going to happen to me next week? That entertaining downloads an experience now, here. Yeah? Because all there is this now. So no matter where you think you are there and then, it's only now. And the only place there's an effect is now. And so the now comes from an imaginary field. It doesn't exist. Yeah? It's only through mental anxiety you produce an effect what you would call fear. But the fear isn't a natural response because there's nothing right now threatening you. So, and in one's life, if you were lucky, maybe 12 or 15 times you'd have the fearful emotion arise when you were being chased or something like that. Now, in mental anxiety, that physiological effect called fear is being activated 30, 40 times a day. Basically, you're burnt out. It's like getting shocked. And no one else can see why, because it's not actually happening. And it's really a bitch to try to communicate it, because it's not actually happening. And they're in what's not happening, but it's usually a different day and a different time than your what's not happening. Very difficult to communicate. But what would be the solution to the effects of what's not happening? If you didn't like those effects, what would be the solution to those effects? Maybe recognizing they're not happening. Because if they're not happening, what more do you need to do? Then see they're not happening. It's a timeless solution. If they're not happening, there's nothing to do. There's just a seeing of that. Yeah? As soon as you see that's not happening, where is your attention and interest in? Now. Yeah? This is where your life gets enriched, not in what's not happening. This is where there's the joy. This is the only place where presence is. The presence is not in the past and the future. And the presence is not for you. You're never going to get it. It's actually your inherent absence is the presence. If you want to have an experience of presence, that's not presence. Because presence can't be experienced. Presence is a state of mind unencumbered by the bondage to self. Yeah? What you truly are, its presence is your inherent absence. If you're taken to be so, that has to seem to be not so to you. That's the only way you seem to be so. Yeah? If you become the Alpha and Omega, you have to deny the Alpha and the Omega. There can't be two Alphas and Omegas. Yeah? So so that's what happens here. Right now, we're all in conscious contact, if you like it or not. You're seeing. You're hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching, yes? And you're also seeing thoughts, like the eye would see birds by a window. The mind sees thoughts. It's another sense. Yeah? So we're all right now experiencing conscious contact, and every one of us would have the same experience. From this point of view, it would be, I'm looking at you. Yes? I'm looking at you, and there's 30 yous. So there's the I looking at you. And then from your point of view, it's I looking at you. So from here, that's a you. And from there, this is a you. Now what happens, all right? If I bring 4 million people here, they'd all have the same idea of me. You. They go, I'm seeing you. Yeah? If I bring 8 million people, same answer. I'm seeing you. Yeah? And then every time I look at everyone else, I'm seeing you. What happens with the mental process? I would say the I is awareness or conscious contact. That's what's having an experience here. So the I is true, I'm seeing, but when I ask who is this I say it's me. Yeah? Now what is a me? Me is just an identified you. Isn't it? Just like you view me as a body, I'm viewing you as a body. That's what I call a you. But what my mind says this you is a me. And there's only one me. In these millions of yous, there's only one me. That would be called the mental center of the universe. And you can't handle all that attention, to tell you the truth. That's what's driving your mind crazy. Really. It's like everything's revolving around this planet Paul, and planet Paul's ready to explode. And it really wants everything to release its pull on planet Paul, but it's the gravity of planet Paul that's keeping everything in place. Yes? If you're not the center of that universe, you'll now experience a new universe. It's the same point of centered, but it won't be self-centered. Yes? You'll be centered. It's a different centered than self-centered. Self-centeredness provokes agitation. If you ever go to those hotels, I don't know, maybe you didn't, but I did a lot. These motels where you put a quarter in a bed, it's supposed to massage your bed, and all you do, it just agitates you. But it says it's supposed to relax you, but you're just in agitation. Well, that's sort of what happens with mind when it rests on something that's unreliable, which is his idea of being a self. It's like Jesus says, you're building a house on sand, yeah? It's not a good foundation. So here, this unreliability is agitated, and you're putting your mind on there. And now you're trying to get peace, relying on agitation. All this does is promote seeking. Seeking, seeking. Every one of us has been seeking since the tip, since we left the mother, yes? We've been seeking, 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 seeking. Because selfing can never find fulfillment. It can never become a self. It can only appear to be one. Yes? In the mind. Selfing, no matter how much it occurs, can never be a self. It never fulfills its purpose, so its purpose is constantly fulfilled by doing, seeing, hearing, claiming. So instead of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, it's I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm feeling, I'm tasting, I'm touching. Yeah? The conscious contact now becomes a verb you're doing. Yeah? I'm the one who's seeing. If your eyes open and something flies by this window, you're going to see it. Yeah? Now your head may say, I didn't want to see that bird, but you saw the bird. And then people go, I didn't want to have that feeling, but you already noted the feeling before you had an opinion about not wanting to have it. Yeah? Life is beating you to the draw. It's like a gunslinger thing. You can never outdraw it. Yeah? Because you're after the fact. The idea of being you is made in time after the fact of conscious contact. Conscious contact comes first, and then you appear afterwards, like an afterthought. But you're attempting to say the afterthought is the doer of the conscious contact. There's no way in hell that you are seeing. They're seeing, but you're not seeing. I remember when I was young, when I was 9 years old, my Uncle Fred died, and my mother took me to the funeral. And it was an open casket, so I was 9 years old. I walked up and I looked and I saw Uncle Fred, but I had a very strong hit. That ain't Uncle Fred, yeah? Because what was Uncle Fred had left the body in a way, yeah? But I had assumed that what was Uncle Fred was the body because I thought I was a body. But when I saw what was really Uncle Fred not there, it was obvious that ain't Uncle Fred. And I could have taken his eye out and put it in a live body and it would work. But that eye was never going to see where it was now. Yeah? So the eye isn't what's seeing. It It translates or facilitates seeing. There must be awareness to facilitate the senses, yes? There must be consciousness to know through the senses. I would say consciousness is prior to you. I would say you're a product of a mental process that comes after the consciousness that tries to become what's prior to the consciousness by saying, I'm doing it, I'm seeing, I'm feeling, I'm tasting, I'm touching. And as soon as it claims consciousness, which is like a state or a state, it becomes a verb you do now. So now I'm conscious or unconscious. And so you start playing God with the idea of God. You start playing God with the idea of consciousness. And then who informs you how you're doing with your pursuit of God? You do, eh? You're the one who goes home. Well, I've done 4 retreats. I must be getting closer. You have to see the mind is like a sadistic little play. You remember when you were kids and they'd hide an egg in the backyard? And they'd send all of us out looking for it. And they go, you're getting closer, you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer. You're getting hot and then cold. Oh. And then like this, like a sadistic little adult, you know. Yes, you're getting just fucking with us all day. This is what it does. What's telling you how you're doing is the problem. When you see it, that's it. What it all distills into is one simple fact: I'm not that. And I'll tell you, let's say there's a woman that I was interested in biblically here. Not here. There is one in Australia that I'm interested in. Well, let's not go. That would be personal. In the other room. Yeah, so let's just say there's one in the other room that I'm interested in. So I'm thinking she means a lot to me, yeah? I mean, I think she's going to... I've never even talked to her, but she's the one, you know? I'm going to marry her and stuff like this. So I'm very interested in hearing what she has to say, but I'm supposed to be doing a talk. So I'm trying to pay attention here, but my attention interest is like, hope she says something about me so I can see if it'd be all right to ask her, you know. I don't want to get rejected. That would be too painful. So then someone says, hey, Paul, you should be doing this talk. I go, yeah, but I can't stop listening. Then someone comes and throws a book on it and says, how to lose interest in conversations in the other room. I page through it, you know. All right. But I can't help myself. Then she finally says something, and she's talking about Matt, and my name is Paul. My interest and attention immediately leaves that room. I don't have to do a workshop. I don't have to go on a retreat. It immediately goes, and is right where it is now, free from that obsession with self. Yes? Why? Because it isn't about me. That's exactly what happens with this. When you finally question that sense of being you, and just entertain the possibility it may not be you, what happens is your interest and attention gets freed from that, which is like a form of slavery, and now it can go and get dispersed in other ways. And what I found, when it's freed from that bondage, it starts enriching my life, and it tends to go back to its source, which is of no thingness. It's not a thing that it's coming from. Interest and attention is not coming from you as a thing. It's coming from no thingness. It's coming from, let's say, spirit or awareness. And once it's broken from this habit of going to this false you, when it finds out the quote-unquote real you, it calls it home. And then the emphasis shifts in your life, big time. And you lose interest in the obsession with self. You don't fight it. You don't argue with it. You don't try to get out of it because that's a form of being in it. You just lose damn interest in it. And the interest that was binding you, enslaving you to those thoughts that don't allow you to go to sleep at night, now enriches your life. It's the same interest and attention. It's just what vehicle it's put in. Yeah? If it's put into this system, if you have faith in your thought system, you're going to be producing tons of anxiety. The amount of faith will be into proportion to the amount of anxiety. If you're devoted to an unreliable thought system that's constantly does not value this moment, but it values the past and future way more, which is just the construct of time. Yes? When that system is relied upon, yeah, and you believe in those thoughts, you are going to be a farmer, a cultivator of giant crops of what's not happening. And they are going to be harvested and dropped into here and now. And you're going to live the effects of what's not happening. That same faith, and everyone has tons of faith. Every mind has tons of faith. Every mind has tons of faith. If that faith is put into the right vehicle, which I would say from self-centeredness to centeredness, that interest and attention, that faith will now produce an ease and comfort in your skin now. Same exact mental energy, same exact energy. One vehicle, it produces anxiety, lots of anxiety. Other vehicle produces an ease and comfort in your own skin now. You don't. It's a byproduct of losing interest in self. It's a byproduct. None of them are goals that the self is looking towards. If the self is involved in it, doesn't come to pass. Yeah? Because the self is of time. Most people's idea of being okay is I will be okay. I hope to be okay later. Get back to me in a little while. I will be after all this gets done. I'll be okay. There's never a sense of okayness now. Why is that? Because the thought system doesn't give a shit about now. It just can't escape now. So what it did, it can't escape now, so it made there and then. And that's what it's obsessed over. Yeah? It's obsessed over the past and the future, all happening right now. And it has absolutely no interest in now. Not one bit. Every thought is drenched in time. Every thought from the system. Every thought. Because they're all held by the original thought, you, as the thinker. And you only appear in time. You are an act of becoming. The mind's becoming you every day. It can never be you as it's presenting you. It can only become you. It can appear to be you. Yeah? That's all it can do. It cannot fulfill itself. That's why, because it's unfulfilled in that, it desires so many other things. All the other desires are attempting to fill that what cannot be fulfilled. It cannot become self. So, in a way, what consciousness is being. Yes? Being is complete already. It's not in a process to become. It's already whole. It's being. Yeah? Nothing added, nothing subtracted. It's not of time because it doesn't take any time to become because it's being. It's bypassed. It doesn't have the quality of time. It's not a practice or a process. You are not becoming authenticated over time. Yeah? There's a sense of being. That's what centered is. Self-centeredness is in the sense of becoming. How it becomes everyday you is everything that happens through you, your mind claims it to be about you. Yet it can never complete the mission. You never can be a self. You're prior to that. You're prior to this individual apparatus. You're what's seeing. You're what's hearing. You're what's feeling. You're what's tasting. You're what's touching. But you'll never see what's seeing. You'll never feel what's feeling. And you'll never hear what's hearing. Never. It's not an experience. It's beyond experience. It's what we are. You can't experience what you are. But what you are will influence every experience that happens here, if entertained.
How do you cross that threshold then? How do you cross that threshold?
Realize that you're already past the threshold. There ain't no threshold.
So how do you live life?
Huh?
How do you live life? Like watching as you're watching it play?
Well, you'll find out.
So you're saying
I don't have any way of living, really. I just find out. Like, we just walked down these roads before the thing, and we ran into about 5 interesting situations we did. So, see, in a way, before we get into the questions, we'll have time with that, but in this mental state of selfing, one of the main directives is to know. That's its sense of security, right? It wants to get a sense that it knows what's going on. Yeah? When the mind knows something, let's say if you were given a message like this, which is nothing, yeah? As soon as the mind, the conditional mind, receives nothing, it makes it something. It conceptualizes it, yes? It makes it something that it can digest, which you lose the essence of the message, because the message is really about nothing. That's what we're hopefully giving you tonight. You're getting absolutely nothing. You probably wouldn't have come if you knew this beforehand. Well, maybe you'll get some shirts, but that's about it. But you're getting nothing. And what happens is the mind wants to make it something. Yeah? If the nothing can just let it be, and it's not even you let it be, when the mind moves towards it to try to claim it, just see, hey, I'm not that. Yeah? Just see that every movement of mind in selfing implies there's a you that's moving. But all they are movements of mind. Yeah? Have you ever heard of duality, dualism? Duality is, the original part of duality is subject-object, meaning I'm the subject and everything else is an object to me. That's how most people live here, yes? You take yourself to be the one who's experiencing all the others. Yeah, I'm the subject. That's called dualism. That's an aspect of duality. So the way this place is perceived is dualistically. So yes and no, high and low, close and far, male, female. Everything either or. It's like a binary system. Where the senses are more like circular, yeah? The mind is binary. Just either or, yes, no, this, that, love, hate, yes? And then different degrees in between, but it's just bouncing back and forth. Yeah? Yeah. So, in this position, where was I? What? Oh, subject-object, yeah. So, in this view of me being the subject, when I meet nothing, the subject makes it something. Yeah? This is about questioning the subjectness before it claims the object. When I question the subjectness and maybe entertain I'm not the subject, then maybe I realize I am the subject. Subjectivity, yes? Much, much different. In that thing, I receive the message and don't make it anything, and then it becomes something really big. Because you've had tons of something. What does it add up to? Basically nothing. So why not start with nothing? Yeah. We're starting with nothing, and let's see what happens. And I'm telling you, a lot of something will come out of nothing when entertained. So I had it with addiction, which is for 20, I used and drank and drugged and everything. And when I entered recovery, the way they presented was obsession with self. But after a period of time, I had a realization it can't be obsession with self. It's an identification as self. It's a different beast because I couldn't get free because I was taking myself to be what was bonding me. As soon as I realized it wasn't me, I started to experience like radical sense of relief. And it actually stabilized over the last 14, 15 years. Yeah? And so I know the tree by the fruit. And you really know the problem by the solution. So let's say if I was, when I was born, someone put a hand on my shoulder. I'm staring at you a lot. Just don't mind. You remind me of somebody. The lady in the other room. So let's say there's a hand on my shoulder, and it's been there my whole life. Yeah. And so I would feel the effects of it, and so of course my mind would want to know what was happening. So it would make up these great ideas. Why is my one shoulder drooping? Why doesn't any shoulder bag stay on my one shoulder? Why are my shirts longer sleeves here than all these things? And it would probably feel like it was really right about all these things. A sense of knowing. But what would happen if the hand lifted? Yes, the hand lifts up. When the hand lifted off, I would know that it was the problem by the solution, yeah? By the absence of the hand, I would now know the hand was the problem. Wouldn't I? I never knew it was the problem when it was there. But when it was lifted, aha, that was why. Yeah? That's exactly what this is like. This is just a simple invitation. It's a simple message. It's not a dissertation. It's not a draft. We're just putting it out there. But I entertained the possibility, and through entertaining it, it was so. It became like an unspoken yes. And then the relief, the proof was in the fruits. You know? I just started traveling lighter consistently on a long-term basis. So I found out about the hand when it lifted, and I started describing the hand, because you can't describe what you are, but you can describe what you're not. So for me, it's more like a way of negation. I look at things, and when I saw everything I was taking to be myself, and I saw it in a different light, I may not be that. Yeah? As soon as I realized I may not be that, the next thought, the next thing I could entertain, it wasn't a thought, it was more like an intuitive hit, was I can be free of it. Radically free of it. No, I don't have to therapize it. I don't have to socialize it. I don't have to drag it along with me wherever I have to go. I can actually be free of it. Because it wasn't I was obsessed with it, I was identified as it. Once the identification was broken, then freedom was possible. Yeah? And through the freedom was like the lifting of the hand. By the lifting of the hand, I said, oh, so that's the problem. Yeah? And truly the problem, the solution to the problem, is to see it as an imaginary problem. Seriously. Once you see it as an imaginary problem, that's the solution. Because there's nothing you need to do about an imaginary problem. It's imaginary, yeah? It's like if you were suffering from being run after by a dreamt tiger in a dream, and you were taking yourself to be the dreamt object, and you were running, no matter how far away, you still live and worry about that tiger. It could be lurking in any place, yeah? No matter how many books you read, how to make friends with tigers, or you don't have to be afraid of tigers, it's okay, but of course you'd be scared shit, yeah? What would happen, though, if you woke up? Would that dreamt tiger have the ability to affect you anymore? If you woke up and realized it was a dreamt tiger, would it have any ability to affect you? And it had been affecting you for a long time, it would immediately stop affecting you. Immediately. Would not take any time when you saw it was a dreamt tiger. Yeah? This is what this message is. It's just questioning the false subjectivity that we're taking our whole life to be based on and seeing if it's so or not. If it isn't so, you're not going to know that, you're going to find out. Yeah? You're going to be, like they say in Zen, a very high form of mind, which is I don't know. In I don't know, everything becomes revelatory because you find out. Yeah? Knowing, to me, neuters the message. Knowing makes nothing into something. But finding out is really something when you're finding out about nothing. Yeah? Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So I just wanted to ask you, sort of the phenomenon is, yeah, you wake up from a dream and it's like, what's the problem? What happens in the psyche when, for example, you watch a horror movie, and then after you watch that horror movie, there might be a tendency now to say, you know what, I don't want to walk in the dark for the next couple hours. So even though you know it's just a movie, it's still playing on the
Yeah. Those effects are happening, but why does it imply a you? Yeah? Fear, scared, to get scared happens. But why is it that I'm scared? See? Yeah. Things happen here that you get concerned about. When a concern moves through, why is it always labeled, I'm the one who's concerned? To me, that's like an afterthought. It's like an addition. Yeah? There's a concern to be noted and maybe not go off for a few hours. But when it's, I'm concerned, then immediately the selfing kicks in. I shouldn't be concerned. Why do I watch horror movies? I'll never watch another horror movie again. Oh, I just won't watch the one with slashers. Well, just goes off. Just the concern came and went. Yeah, concern moved in, came and went. But as soon as it's claimed as my concern, it's just like, these tentacles of thought just go all over it. All these tons of opinions get, it's like a giant geometric progression. This is selfing. And your interest and attention is bonded to watching it all. Yeah? You follow every thought line. Oh, I shouldn't be worried about this. I've seen tons of horror movies. Oh, maybe I'm a very fearful person. Oh, and all this. Yeah, this is just selfing. Your interest and attention has left being here, and you're up in that little porno theater. Watching, Paul does Dallas, or Dallas does Paul. It's just unbelievable. And you know what? You can't get out because you like it. Even the jujubes are stale, the popcorn sucks, it even smells a little bad in there. But you can't leave because it's about you. You. Your mind cherishes it. It's the first addiction. The mind is addicted to the idea of being a self. Yeah? It's addicted to it. It will put up with a whole lot of shit just to be that it's you that's being put up with the shit. I saw it, I swear. Once I entertained I was not that, my interest and attention was freed, and that interest and attention that was bonding me to that is now enriching my life. It's the same interest and attention. Exact same. And there is, interest and attention is not coming forth as a verb that a noun is doing. A thing is not interested. Attention is not coming from thingness. It's coming from no thingness. Yeah? It's coming from mind. It's not your product. It's not something you do. The identification itself focuses it and tries to divert it and direct it, but it is not the maker or the doer of it. Yeah? And there's tons of interest and attention. There's an infinite amount of interest and attention. All you do is lose interest in things. Yeah? But the interest and attention never lose its real interest in no thingness, because that's its source. Yeah? And all that happens is the emphasis of your attention and interest leaves the failed system of self-centeredness and now relies on something that's reliable. And just like if I was a rose bush and I was planted in a very small pot with no water, very little light, and bad soil, I wouldn't be blooming much. And yet, as a self-centered rose bush, I'd be getting, oh, Jesus, I'm a terrible rose bush. I should have been blooming. What's wrong with me? A selfing would just go crazy. But if you took that rose bush and put it in a bigger pot with good soil, some sun and water, it would bloom like crazy. Yeah? It's what you're relying on that's expressing through you right now, as you. If you're not that happy with it, it's never going to change. That system is self-centered. It's never, self can't get out of self. No matter how far you get out and you think you're at the outer parameters of self, like you see the fence, non-self over there, you as a self are never going to climb the fence and be self on the other side of non-self. Yeah? The fence keeps moving. Wherever you appear to be, you is selfing. Yeah? So self can't get out of self. That's the beautiful news. Because you're not in it. You're not in it. You appear to be, but you're not. That's the solution. If it wasn't that solution, it would be of time, it would be of practices, it would be of purposes, it would be of therapizing and civilizing and socializing. This is an immediate solution because the problem is inherently imaginary. So, what is available now is always available at all times with no requirement necessary to meet it. Yeah? And therefore, when you were a kid, when you were playing when you were a kid, if you weren't in like an abusive situation, when I was playing that day, I didn't have a thought that will I be playing next week? Time hadn't structured yet, yeah? So, because I didn't have the mental possibility that I could be somewhere else, I seemed to be really here. Because I wasn't entertaining, I don't have to be here. I could be somewhere else, yeah? You know what I mean? So all those possibilities that are impossible were brought to me by the mental process that I call selfing. When I was a kid, they weren't going on. So when I was playing, I'd just be playing. There wasn't a little narration going, yes, you're playing, Paul, and you've been playing for the last 5 days with the same toys. I think you should get some new friends. You know? But as soon as the selfing started happening, everything, you go to the bathroom. I'm going to the bathroom. Oh, thank you. I can see that I'm going to the bathroom. Why do I need someone to say I'm going to the bathroom? Oh, you're going to make a real fool of yourself. Oh, thank you. That's great. Yeah? This narration started getting produced, and it started to suck up all the interest and attention because it put out a presentation that this is about me. Yeah? I forgot my nature, and I took upon this nature. And this nature has a lot to be worried about. A whole lot to be worried about. Because it's very, very needy, and it needs a whole lot of stuff at all times. So, when I was a kid, I didn't walk around my house going, I think the living room should be bigger, you know? I didn't have to have Gap sunglasses and Gap clothes on. I'd rather not have any clothes on. I didn't have to, oh, you look great, Paul. What? You know what I mean? My hair, I could care less. None of these concerns were that mounting yet. I didn't think, my mother, I wish my mother was better looking, you know what I mean? I'm not going to give her any love. She's very big, overweight. No, she can't be my, none of this was going on because they hadn't been entertained yet. Yeah? What we're trying to do is, the mind has the ability to entertain. We're just attempting to give it something else to entertain. How about you're not that? Yeah? Just a simple statement. Hey, I may not be that. Let's see what happens. Yeah? Because I'll tell you, let's say if Tanya came over my house and she shared all these thoughts that were driving her crazy about what's not happening. And I'd be sitting very close to her and she was driven crazy. Well, would I be driven crazy? Because it's actually not happening. Yeah? So I wouldn't be driven, no matter how close I get to her, she's really going crazy, but I have like immunity to her. A simple immunity. Why? Because I see them as her thoughts. Now the same thoughts that were driving her crazy, maybe I go home, and those thoughts run through this little noggin, and they're held as my thoughts, now I'm being driven crazy. So it's not the thoughts that drive you crazy, it's the mind that drives you crazy. The mind is giving everything the meaning it has. The thought isn't giving you a meaning, the you gives the thought the meaning. Yeah? The you is injecting everything it claims with its conditioning, yes? With all of its old ideas, with its belief structure. it's injecting a thought with its meaning and then opens it up as if it was a piñata that it was just brought to and it just hit in life. But every meaning is all filled with impressions, conditionings, beliefs of this system called self-centeredness. And you can see it. When I was introduced to spirituality at the first time when I was 18, I met an Indian guru, and I had never known anything about any of Indian gurus, but as soon as I met the Indian guru, I had thousands of ideas about how he should be, how I should be, how all the followers should be, what I should be doing, what they should be doing. Where did it all come from? It didn't come from my experience. It came from a giant catacomb of conditional, like mental winds, just blowing, waiting to find expression. The situation arose, guru, devotee, all of these spiritual mental winds came out and just went going crazy. I wanted to kill him. I was trying to figure out how I could shoot him with like a time delay dart when he was on this like motorcade. So he'd die like 50 yards away, so he'd never know it was me. Because my mind was just being driven crazy by the guru. Because he was presented as the Lord of the universe. Yeah, he was the Lord of the universe. That had a lot of meaning to me. My mind gives that a lot of meaning. And there I was with the Lord of the universe, and I didn't like the Lord of the universe. What does that make me? It didn't make me too much, really. So somebody had to go, so I figured if I get rid of the Lord of the universe, I'll be okay. So this is what happens. Thoughts are given meaning by you, by claiming to be the thinker of them. Yeah? Thoughts are being given meaning by you in the relationship with the thought as I'm the thinker of them. We're saying maybe you're not the thinker of them. If you look at it, can you take a shit when you want to? Can you? Can you, are you pumping your blood? Are you digesting your food? You would have forgotten a burrito maybe from yesterday. You have to have a big to-do list every night. I've got to go home and digest. I'll see you. That burrito, got that cake I ate yesterday. Yeah? Obviously, a lot of stuff's happening involuntarily, but then there's a very subtle process happening in the brain called thinking, the thoughts, and we claim to be the thinker of them. It's unbelievable when you can't even take a shit when you want to, but you believe you're the thinker of these subtle activities. Yeah? This is called the arrogance of self-centeredness. It's claiming everything, and it's way beyond its pay scale. It's claiming things that are way beyond its pay scale. And as soon as you're the thinker, you're in a different relationship to thoughts as soon as they're my thoughts. Totally different. My thoughts, it's sort of like a thought weighs, let's say if you gave it a weight, each thought would weigh an ounce. And they say you have about 70,000 thoughts a day. Maybe about 7,000, let's say, in this room. So you have 7,000 thoughts a day, yeah? And let's say each one of them weighs an ounce. So you're used to traveling with 7,000 ounces a day. So when you walk up hills, you don't even notice it. You've been doing it so long. You know, you're in pretty good shape with 7,000 ounces. All right, but now add the word my, and now each thought weighs a pound. Now you're carrying 77,000 pounds a day. You're going to be traveling a lot heavier, aren't you? Over your day-to-day living. A lot heavier. And you can't weigh the thoughts, but they are the heaviest things of all. They truly are. I've seen people, their whole life, go down the tubes by following 5 thoughts as their own. You know, I think I'm going to shoot this guy. They shoot someone, they're in prison now for 30 years. Yeah. The my is what gives meaning. The my is like the bridge from what you represent in self-centeredness, which is tons of ideas and belief systems. I call them a lot of mental winds. Yeah? There's a lot of mental winds that are seeking expression. They can't take form here, but they can have an effect through you as a form. So anger and jealousy and envy and greed, you see, let's say, a lot of greed going on. If you meet the people individually, you may not think they're greedy, but as a whole, there's a lot of greed. So people, I feel, are just expressions of mental winds. And the mental winds, they take us over, yes? And the biggest steering wheel of all for them to come in is selfing. Because anything that would move through you, when it moved through you, you would claim it to be yours. Yeah? So the craziest motherfucking thing you could possibly do, if it happens through you, you'll say, I did it. Yeah? You won't even entertain the possibility that something took you over, something possessed you. It would always be, no, it's me, it's me, it's me. Well, it isn't you. It isn't you. You're going to attract whatever, if you're in that self thing, you're going to attract a lot of certain winds. Yeah. If you're not, I find that you don't attract those winds anymore. It's as simple as that. Other winds blow through you that I think are much more beneficial for you and others. Yeah. Yeah. You may be drawn to service, who knows? For me, the service is, I used to do service in recovery to get an experience of being out of self, yeah? Because the self is unbearable in untreated alcoholism. It's like an extreme subdivision of self-centeredness. It's really, really chronic. I see it's crippled a lot of people I know. And they'll do almost anything to get relief from it. They'll go back to something that's almost killed them 10 times, but they can't bear the self thing going on. So let's say I do service to get out of self. And when I get out of self, I had certain experiences. And one of them would be I felt like I was available. Yeah? I came out of the ass of self, and I felt a little, hey. And then I felt the presence of something other than me. Thank God. And when I felt that presence, it would be a really nice sense, yeah? But usually the mind would go retreat back into selfing, and then very soon thereafter I'd have to do service to get out of self, yeah? To feel available, and then sense that presence. What would happen though, at one time my mind, when it landed on presence, it said that's what it is. I'm the presence. Yeah? I'm not the one that needs to do service. I'm the presence. And the presence is always available, and it's of service because of that. Yeah? So service as an experience can be very infrequent. Presence as a state, service is always available at all times because you're available to people. You're holding the space for people. And there's no you holding it. There's just the holding of space. You're awake. Yeah? You're present. And that makes you of service. And you'll be put to good use. Yeah? Without you looking for it. You'll find out. So this is what happens. When the mind shifts out of self-centeredness, let's say the centeredness, it's going to show effects. And you'll know the tree by the fruit. Simple as that. And for me, it was like an unspoken yes. It was like the last answer. I haven't found a new one since. It just hit me, and that was that. And I've just been entertaining it now for a long time. And the entertaining fulfills itself. Yeah. More downloads. Yeah. So many questions? Yes.
I have a couple. I'm sure others will ask questions as well. I think it's safe to say in our society that drug addiction is considered a negative thing, and yet in our society we have a lot of people who are extremely financially successful, celebrities, rock stars, whatever. And so let's just create a scenario. I want you to comment on this. An artist who's maybe coming from a presence, was inspired with great art, great music, whatever. But eventually, whether it was their own ambition, or their agents, or the media, or the fans, they had to eventually try to live up to the mythology of who they were. Elvis Presley being a perfect example. So what would you say in terms of how one can be ambitious or successful, but still not get caught up in the mythology of being...
Well, not to be the one that is ambitious. Doesn't mean there's no ambition. Just don't be the one who's ambitious. Yeah? When the mind claims it to be you, when a verb is made into something the noun is doing, the solution isn't stopping the verb, it's in questioning the noun. If there's not a noun, then ambition will be probably better used. Yeah? But when the noun claims it, it distorts the ambition, and usually gets bitten in the ass by the distortion. Yeah? Obviously, I have an ambition I don't know about. I go around giving talks constantly. In San Francisco 3 times a week. I've been doing it for 20 years. Now, and I feel very successful on various other levels of it. But that's extremely ambitious in a way. You know, I came to Toronto. I don't really like traveling. And I came to Toronto, and I'm going to be doing a lot of talks here. You would say that could be seen as very ambitious, but there's no me involved in it, so it seems to stay clean. Yeah? It's when the me, and the me is always going to be, the selfing is always going to attempt to claim things. Yeah? but it doesn't mean it does. You just see it. And if you see it, that sort of halts its claiming, yes? And then the ambition gets led by some other force, not self-centeredness. Yes?
Just to follow, that's great. So, the idea of someone, again, I'll pick on a rock star, where they experience these
Not
highs.
just me, I'm close.
Yeah. So they experience a high. Again, obviously, the perfect example, they take drugs to get high, take drugs to get so we can see
Yeah.
it. So, do you experience after a 2-hour talk or whatever, some kind of a high that you then have to come back down to? Or
No.
are you kind of able to stay, because I'm sure it'd be very draining for people that are on stage, in performance, whatever, they get the high, but then the come down can be very hard on them afterwards.
Well, in the beginning when I was doing it, it would seem like it was different. So let's say I had a very pressing condition, physical or emotional or something, or financial or security-wise, or life condition, and I'd walk into the meeting, and for that hour, that condition had no effect. So obviously it wasn't real, to tell you the truth. But it would have no effect, but then it seemed it would crop up after I left. Yeah? But over time, that stopped, and it just got a little bit stabilized. For me, it's more about there's energy happens, and there's certain energy that when energy moves through the system, if the body is able to handle like 110 wattage and 220 wattage comes through, the first stuff that gets exasperated is weaknesses of the body. Yeah? So that happens a lot. But no, the high and low, because this isn't about me. If it was about me, I would have missed many meetings, because I have good reasons not to come. But I've attended every meeting I've ever done. I've never missed a meeting. And I've listened to every one of the talks. Seriously. There's listening going on. Now, it's a download, and I get a sense when the download occurs, what I'm listening to is the sense of where it comes from. Yes? That's the message. And that message has never changed with all the thousands of downloads. It's the same message. There is a space. Mind is like open sky. Yeah? You ever see the sky? Most people, when they describe the sky, they're describing clouds, really. They're describing what's appearing in the sky. Well, let's just say sky. Sky is sort of like mind. Yeah? So here, let's say in this sky, there's 4th of July explosions. Does the sky get ripped open by the explosions? No. Ever heard of a plane that was flying through the sky and then called up the terminal and said, hey, I just ran into a big chunk of sky up here? What do? No. Birds appear when it rains. The rain doesn't wet the sky, it just wets the ground, what's appearing. Yeah. So in a sense, mind is like that. It's like an open sky type mind. Whatever appears in it doesn't affect the original mind, yes? Whatever appears in it doesn't leave an imprint on the original mind. That's sort of what mind is like. The selfing is an appearance in mind. The selfing is claiming to be mind. Yeah? It's trying to take the aspect of mind, which is open sky, and make it an activity the body is doing. It's like a preposterous heist, yeah, that's already taken place. So when you think of selfing, when the selfing's going on, the feeling that it's you is a historical feeling produced by the selfing, because you didn't have it when the selfing wasn't happening when you were a kid. You didn't have the sense of self. So the feeling of being a self is that you're before the selfing, or the selfing is happening to you, but you're a product of the selfing. The feeling of being you, the feeling of being the one who's worrying, is the product of selfing. And that feeling of being a one who's worrying is a feeling of being one who has worried many times in the past and will probably be worrying in the future. So you become a historical figure that is put in front of the processing that made it. Yeah? So the selfing makes it, but you feel like you're the one that's doing the selfing, or that the selfing's happening to you. But you're at the end of the line, not before the line starts. The feeling of being you is construed, it's built, it's made. The onness you feel isn't you. The onness is life happening. But you take it to be you, and you call it, this is what's alive. I'm the alive. No. You are a facilitator of life. This is like a camera box. Undifferentiated light is moving through this, and it differentiates. How you see life and how life is dealt with and danced with is based on the the dimensions of your lenses, your conditioning, your old ideas, your karma, as they would say. The undifferentiated comes in and differentiates. And then you believe what you're seeing to be real and solid, and you give it the ability to affect you as this being real and solid. It's like a dreamer and a dream. Yeah? But it's not a dreamer, it's dreaming. There's no noun. It's just dreaming. Dreaming, dreaming, dreaming. The mental state of selfing always puts a noun everywhere. So, you don't see something happening, I'm doing it. Yes? Or they're doing it. And if it's not me doing it, you're doing it, it's God doing it. There's always got to be a someone that's doing everything. Why? Maybe everything's just happening. Yes? Maybe you're a non-ending verb. You never began, nor will you ever end.
People are making decisions and choices.
Yes, their mind is, yes. I would say they're not even decisions or choices. I think they're options like a computer would do. Seriously.
If you,
I'll get to it.
you see a truck coming to hit you, you jump out of the way. If you make a decision,
I'd say watch make a decision.
is it instinctive?
I would say so, yes.
Does it happen through that?
Yes, I would say they've already tested many times where they studied the idea of free will and choice. They did a simple test with a neuroscientist where they had just a clock, with an arrow. And they had all the electrodes on her, and they said, stop it anytime you want. Yeah? So she sat there and she stopped it. Then she'd act like she was going to do it, not do it, and then stop it, She was even playing with herself. And when they checked out all the information, the brain lit up a second before she ever thought she made a choice. So the idea of being the chooser and the doer is an afterthought to the activity of the brain. Yes?
The end result, you did it though.
What?
The end result is you did it.
The end result is it happened. I wouldn't say you did it.
But you did. You chose to do that.
Who chose to do it?
Yeah, that's the thing. You see, how is that happening, Paul? How is that happening?
What do you mean, how is it happening?
Well, the decision to jump out of the way.
Based on the conditioning of the apparatus, I would say. Yeah? I would say, again, it's more like an option. If you ever seen computers, they don't really make choices. They just choose options based on conditioning and ideas, right? So there's an option. I would say the apparatus has built-in options. Some of them we all seem to have, which is survival and stuff like that. But the narration says we're the one that's doing it. Yeah? Yeah. Well, if you're the one that's doing it, stop. Yeah, if you're the one who's thinking, stop.
Agreed.
How are you doing with that? You are. You're stopping thinking. Oh, good. You should get up here then. Yeah.
What are some ways that one can move away from selfing? Like you mentioned, service.
Yes, service, for sure.
I'm wondering how does one start this process?
Well, I wouldn't serve someone you know or family. I would go and volunteer, maybe at a soup kitchen or something. Just give it a shot. Check it out.
No, I mean, in addition to serving, are there other kind of ways that people can get out of what you call selfing?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of them. That's the one that worked with me, was service. Yeah. Because all the thinking, in a sense, like I said, when you're trying to get out of self, it's actually a form of being in self. Yeah? When you're thinking about you're going to do something to get out of self. I just did service. And in service, I had an experience of what you would call being out of self. And I saw that when my interest and attention was directed, other than by my self-centeredness, it sort of enriched my life. So I have, let's say, I and this girl to ask at a meeting out, and then a newcomer would come right before me and her, so my little agenda was thwarted seemingly. And I go, okay, let's go have coffee. But I tell you, it worked out a lot better having coffee with them than if I would have gone and followed her maybe, So I saw that something seemed to be intervening on my little storyline about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to get. Yeah? And then by its intimation, it became obvious that it was reliable. Yeah? That's the beauty of it. When you rely on something that's reliable, you'll know it. Yeah? It will translate into an ease and comfort, which for me only begets more relying on it. Yeah? You come to know it to be so, and it's so. Yeah? So, yes.
Okay, comment on this is the potential that at least it's interesting that what can happen. Let's take, for example, someone who's washing dishes.
Yes.
Zen talks about that often in terms of, just wash the dishes, don't worry about it. It's easy not to get caught in self when you
But see, all that's implying that there was a solid you that wasn't doing something, and then it started to do something. I'm questioning the you. Yeah, not so much what it's doing or not doing. I'm questioning the you that's doing it. Yeah, I don't know what will happen, but I know it's not going to happen to you.
So what would you say?
Seriously.
What would you say to the artist who it was once a passion and now they're too obsessed with whether or not they're good enough and are they going to sell enough and at what price and all this stuff?
I don't know what I'd say. I'd have to meet him or her. That's the whole point about this. It's 1 second. It's more about a finding out. It's not like there's a wealth of wisdom. It's just you know what to do next. It's very economical and very pared down. In other words, the thought system doesn't get bolstered and reinforced. It diminishes, really. It does. It diminishes greatly. And then the preoccupation with there and then. And so, see, to be here now, for most people, it's a mental here. Yeah? It's not really here. And the mental here is just a huge dropping off point for there and then. Yeah? It's all conditional by the past ideas and speculations about a future. So the mental here is what people are trying to escape from. They take it to be here, so they want to get out of the moment, which they can't get out of. Because you cannot be out of the moment. Yeah? So the whole pursuit of trying to get out of the moment has failed immediately. No matter how loaded I got, I always woke up in the same fucking place. I never got out of where I was trying to get out of. How was that? Because I was trying to escape from the wrong place. I was taking the mental here, which is a facsimile of this manifest here. But in the mental here, there is no what you would call a higher power. Yeah? It doesn't exist because this realm doesn't exist. It's made up time realm. Yeah? So the unmanifest appears and manifests in the manifest. It doesn't appear in the mental realm. That's why you walk alone up there. That's why it's so ridden with anxiety and fear, because there's nothing to rely on up there. Yet you're constantly relying on it. Yeah? Constantly relying on something that's failed you over and over and over again. You're going to be a wreck. So this whole idea...
How do you become present then?
How did I become friends with that?
No, present.
Oh, present. You are present.
I'm going to practice it. I mean,
Practices. See, the point is, again, simply, really, if I can say this, if it's not a joke, that the giant urge to get into the moment implies that you can be out of the moment. Let's question that. I don't believe you can be out of the moment. So how much more can I practice being here? I mean, seriously. I'm as here as much as I can be. Can I do it better? No. Can I do it worse? No. This is what it is right now because it ain't. It's going to pass away. But what's always so isn't passing away. I am more like that sky, so what appears doesn't have much emphasis anymore because I am not what's appearing. I am what's always so. Yeah? So, one thing. And then the other thing was what?
No, I just want to say you practice being present so that you've got 5 senses.
I would say be present. And I'm saying you
No,
cannot
the
be
average
present.
guy who's not aware of it.
Okay, well, no, let me just say it. I'm just saying be present. So if you cannot not be present, that's the best practice of being present. Yeah? You can, if your mind entertains that you cannot not be present, it's over. It's just like when you were a kid. Was I trying to learn how to meditate when I was a kid? Was I reading books about spirituality or signing up for retreats? No. There was no need because there was presence. Why? Because I couldn't possibly entertain that time. I could be anywhere else. Yeah? As soon as I started entertaining, I could be everywhere else. Then I had tons of opinions how this sucked. Yeah? But before then, I was there because there wasn't any not here, not there.
But also because your experiences are much smaller than here.
I wouldn't say that. I would say maybe the field of experiences. But I would say the wideness of your aperture is pretty wide when you're a kid. I think you're experiencing a whole lot when you're a kid.
Well, like the animals don't experience consciousness. They're in the present all the time, right?
You have to ask them. I would say so.
So would there be
Because they can't entertain not being.
yeah, right. So we experience it as we evolve, right?
Yeah, do you see cats practicing being a cat? Do you go to any places? There's dog practicing today. 4 to 8. Bring your dogs. We're going to practice being a dog.
But they're naturally,
Sign up for the next dog retreat.
they're naturally in the present moment, the dogs, right?
Well, what about you?
Well, no, look, the humans as we develop.
Don't give yourself so much credit. You're still in the present moment. There's no escape.
All right, no.
There is no escape. No matter how complex your mind becomes, you can't leave the only place there is.
But we know how we can do it because we do it. The dogs don't know it because they're always present. Like the animals are present.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've developed a consciousness as we evolved up the evolutionary tract. So I'm just saying, that's the paradox. I'm just saying.
No, I know. The thing is, with a practice, it can be done as an expression, but when the practice formulates the idea of being the practitioner, that I think is the dilemma. Yeah? It's not so much what you do, it's who's doing it. Because the who that's doing it will give all the meaning what you do has. Yeah? Like I talked about. When it's my practice, you're inserting tons of meaning from the conditionality to that practice. And it may take you where it wants to go. It may not be where you thought it was supposed to take you. Yeah? Because everything gets distorted when selfing claims it. It can take what seems to be really a beautiful path. And I tell you, go to temple sites, go to places. Maybe for one day it's great, but live there for 3 weeks. They're all fucked. You know what I mean? They're all bickering and hierarchy, trying to get in a position, sitting closer to the teacher. It's the same like the corporate ladder. Same. They just wear different, suits. Yeah, mind, wherever mind is, and there's the claiming from selfing, it distorts everything. Yes? It has its own agenda, and its agenda is to become, and it's an incessant agenda that can never complete itself. It will never be a self. It can only appear to be a self. Which means there's constant activity, constantly selfing. Being is complete in and of itself. There's nothing to do. Yet doing will happen. But there's nothing to do to bring about being. Being is already so. There's nothing to complete being. It's completely already. The beginning, the end is complete. Yeah? There's nowhere to go and nothing to get. It's not a joke. It's true. Yeah?
So would you say selfing is like ego, then like an illusionary self?
No. Ego is an aspect of the conditional mind, but selfing is more of a vague feeling. It's a sense. Yeah? It's a sense that you're you. You feel it, right? Yes. It's sort of like a vague cloud you walk around in. It's like a thought wrapped with a feeling. It's very good. Thoughts are easy to see. Feelings a little more difficult. But when you have a thought wrapped with a feeling, it can be very difficult. Yeah? So that's sort of like the sense of self is like to me. It's an idea, but it's wrapped with a feeling. And because of the identification as a body, you think feelings are bringing you authentic information. You think what I feel is authentic. Because of the identification as a body, a feeling is just a feeling. It's a stimuli. Yeah.
So what is reality?
I don't have a clue what reality is. But you will find out. But you'll never know. Once you know it, it's muted. Yeah? But you're finding out. If a verb's a verb, the only way you learn about a verb is through the verbing of it. Yeah? You can't put under the glass and make it a noun. You would lose its verbness. So you find out about it. You cannot know. That's the beauty of it. That's why in Zen they would say the highest form of mind is I don't know. Because it thrusts you in the position of finding out. So everything is revelatory. It's not, oh, I knew that. It's never like that. You never go, I knew that. It's just you find out. But that let's say, conducting of knowledge has a very, very strong convincing quality. When you find out, it can really click in. When this thing can be thoroughly convinced and 5 minutes later be unconvinced. Because it's binary, right? It bounces back and forth, yes and no, high and low. Yeah? So you can be totally sincere about turning my whole life over. Next day, no, fuck that. I'm not going to do anything like that. Yeah? Back and forth. But this knowledge, when it downloads, has a more of a convincing quality. It's almost like a last answer can occur, or an unspoken yes. There's just you don't need any more verification, in other words. What was revealed was enough. Something has been seen that wasn't seen, and it's a done deal. Yeah? Yes?
There was a time when I would be in a room such as this and hear something that percepts me, but I wouldn't really hear. I'm fully up here.
let's just maybe entertain this possibility. Let's say the mind changed, yeah? And you got it. Now, here in this place of time and space, it wanted to manifest that getting it. So it manifests it in time through a practice, but maybe the practice didn't really produce that effect. Maybe it's an expression of the cause, yeah? Mind may have got it in the timeless moment, and now it's manifesting in time through your action figure. And it's a beautiful manifestation coming from dark to light, you know? It's a beautiful artistic display here in this dualistic format, yeah? Just like an alcoholic person in recovery, their lives were totally ruined and wrecked, totally on the bottom, and now they're serving many, many people. It's an incredible contrast here, yes, of mind moving. But did something produce that, or did mind express it? I tend to go with the mind expressing it, because I did a lot of practices in my life, and when this information downloaded, it was not of here, and not of doing, and not of being done. Yet it can find expression in doing and being done. Yeah? So in my life, I live very simply now, but it's not a practice. Yeah? It's just an expression from this download. So, but both of them as real can be here. Because this mind is seeking expression here. And the expression is going to be of dualistic nature. Yeah? So you're going to be down, and then you're going to rise up maybe. Other people rise up, and then they fall down. Yeah, it has a lot of different, the escalator is going up and down, both ways. People are on either way, yeah? But I would say those are appearances or phenomena, but the state of mind is the awareness that is the contextual sense of this whole place. That awareness, yes? That one that was seeing the thoughts, not as his or hers. The seeing. And there wasn't a you that was doing that. There was seeing. Seeing. For me, seeing is the truth. Seeing what I'm not is what I am. The seeing of what I'm not is what I am. In other words, like a great master said, Huang Po in Japan and in China said, whatever can be perceived can't perceive. So whatever is hearing can't be heard. Yes? Whatever is seeing can't be seen. Yes? Whatever can be perceived can't be perceiving. Yes? So what we are is beyond anything that can be touched, known, experienced. Yet it's influencing everything in this place of appearances. I would say it's the source of all, yeah? Of all expression, and all non-expression.
So in essence, it's just a shift of perspective from us, me, you, to something grand.
Yes, it's just like that. The
And just
emphasis,
looking down, I guess you could say.
your interest and attention really gets freed from a form of slavery to this idea of being a self, yes? The emphasis shifts, and that shift, that new calibration changes everything. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
I think a lot of what's going on here as well is that when the self, specifically the self-image, is trying to get some relief, and it's trying to do that incrementally, but it's going towards a goal, which may be the total dissolution of the self-image. And so you may have a house or a car and a job that you don't really want to be in, right? That you go to because of anxiety about giving up that job. And so there's a whole bunch of self-reinforcing kind of, thoughts and behaviors and fears and whatever that go on to support that lifestyle. But when you transition to a life of service, that may not be your life anymore. And so the sort of the self-image wants to maintain its own integrity and sort of incrementally change, and it wants some certainty that it's going to be preserved over time, when really where it's going maybe is complete dissolution and an entirely different life.
It could be that way, but the way I hold it is it never had anything to dissolve.
Right. But until it can, that's the crux of the matter. That
Yes,
as long
that's the crux of the
as long as it holds on to the fact that there's this self-image
That's right.
that needs to be maintained, but it also wants this. So it wants to keep the car and the house and the job and all those things, and it also wants to say be enlightened.
Yes. 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 But see, that in a sense,
But becoming enlightened may mean letting go of that entire.
well, it may not either.
It may not.
It
We
doesn't
don't
matter.
know. There's no certainty.
There's not, the thing is, the selfing has a huge drive to be relevant. Yes? So it wants to write itself into every story. And even when it's seeking its own absence, it wants to be there when it finds it. That's usually the dilemma in seeking a path. You're looking for its own solution, but you want to be there to get the experience of it. Yes.
I just wanted to ask you, you just mentioned that I now live simply compared to what?
Well, when I was an addict, I wasn't living simply. You know, I was a drug dealer, and I was more living like in the animal world, like a four-legged rat, basically. I had something I had to have seemingly every day, and I do pretty much anything to get it.
Can you describe what now simple life is?
Well, it's not a definition of a simple life. I'm just saying the simple life I seem to be in. So I wouldn't say it's a simple life, but let's see, what do I do? Well, I live in San Francisco. I live in a place called Mill Valley, and I boogie board a lot, yeah? It's like prone surfing. And I do that. I work when I need to work. I paint houses, and I sell T-shirts, and used to import art from Asia. And I live with some people. I rent a room. I have a little car, and I go to a lot of AA meetings, work with people in recovery. I do 3 talks a week on this topic, and I travel around the world doing this stuff, sharing with people in other countries and in this country. Not this country, America. So that's what I do. I'm not married, I don't have any kids, I have pretty low overhead, and
What's your ambition then, Paul?
huh?
What's your ambition?
For this meeting to be over soon, I see. No, I don't have it. Again, it's not about not having ambition or not, it's the one who has the ambition. I don't have a sense of being a concrete individual entity. Just hate to break the news to you, I don't have it. I don't feel it. If I did feel it, I'd be acting contrarily. I would. Something would be different. But that something occurred, and that glue has been weakened, and it just separated because it was never so to begin with. It was constantly applying the glue to keep this idea together. It doesn't have any existence of its own except what I give it. So my mind has lost interest in it. It's interested in something other than that. So long as I can live. Okay.
So I just wanted to make a comment.
Yes.
That I think what I also sense from what you're saying is, I think as humanity in a way we have been trapped. Yes. We have been trapped, literally. Because when we were kids, I think we didn't have the idea of self. Everything was. Everything was. Playing, eating, everything was just was. And then as we grew up, we begin to be told that we don't have this, we don't have that, we're not beautiful enough, we're not strong enough, we're weak. So there are all these things that started happening.
Yes.
We started realizing that we don't have. So now we're seeking so that we can have.
Yes.
We need jobs, we need to be beautiful, we do so many things so that we can be. So now we're trapped and we don't know how to get out. Because even now, the life that we live in this world, it seems like if you don't have the sense of self, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to have a job, because for you to get a job, you need to market yourself. So what are you marketing? Your skills. How you're better than somebody else. So if you don't have that self, you're not going to get the house that you need. You're not going to get the car that you need.
You see,
Success itself and life has been meant to be. You got to have the self.
yeah,
That's we talk about self-determination.
you see how the advertising of the mind is to keep itself in place? If maybe you're not that one, right? If you're not that one that's doing that, or not that one that should not do that, yeah, maybe the feeling that you have around all that just came up will be different. I guarantee. I would say, I don't want to say guarantee, but I tell you it would, because you, where you are sitting at, is giving all that all the meaning it has. Yeah? You're giving it. And so to try to change that meaning and not change the you that's giving it, you're just going to get a bastardized version of the same meaning. Maybe it's opposite, but it'll be the same bondage. But maybe if you're not what's giving it the meaning, maybe things will look different for you. And maybe you'll see another way of working where you don't have to do a job that doesn't satisfy you. Who knows? That's what happened with me. I took some chances in this life. I had a paint company, and I just said, first I got sober, and then the only thing I could walk my way into was painting. I couldn't do a straight line because my hand was shaking so bad. But the guy who ran the company was drunk too, so I tried that. And then I worked for them for a little while, and then I entertained, hey, maybe I can start my own paint company. So I did. I did that for 14 years. Then I go to Asia, and I see, man, these Buddhas are beautiful. I'd like to have one in my house. And I think I'll buy one. And I saw buying, bringing some back. People said, hey, could you get me a Buddha like that? I go, yeah, surely. Went there, started importing art from Asia to sell to that. So what happened with me, my mind that used to be very exclusive, either I'm having fun or I'm working, became inclusive. It just started being able to see I can surf and make money the same day. It doesn't have to be either surf or make money. Both can occur. Yeah? So my mind, instead of being so split, became a little more homogenized and started entertaining. See, when you're in selfing, when you're identified with that system, you're entertaining its possibilities. Its possibilities. And they're all made of time. And they're very limited possibilities. You're never going to be totally okay now. I may be okay later. Or I was once okay. It's always like you're on a... Well, you know, your mind has been over every inch of self-centeredness. And you've tried every possibility, probably 3 or 4 times over, with the hope that somehow it's going to work, yet it doesn't. It doesn't deliver the goods, yeah? You have to see, let's say I was delivering furniture like this. And every time I delivered this chair, I was on time. I delivered the day it was supposed to be there, and just the condition that they saw it. Every time I delivered it, would I need to have any excuses, blame and rationalization? I wouldn't have to blame anyone for not making the delivery. I made the delivery. I wouldn't have to have any excuses because I made the delivery. I wouldn't have to have any rationalizations. I made the delivery. Look at your head. These are echoes of a failed system. It's full of excuses and blame and rationalization. Why you're putting up with something that's fucking intolerable. Yeah? This is the slavery. To have the sense that you're the one that's doing that or you're the one that's hearing it. That's what gives the meaning of what you're hearing. Not the hearing, not what you're hearing, but what's hearing. What's hearing? You're trying to get out of you. You're not trying to get out of your situations. The situations will morph around you wherever you go. But the thing is to get out of you, and I'm saying there's a beautiful way to get out of you. You can never be in you.
So, in the society, everybody was like you, who would determine right. Would that mean that they would have no family, no children?
No, I don't know what would be. We have to find out. But I'm not good at hypothetical questions. I'm not. I have no idea how I'm going to react until I react. Yeah? I find out. I don't know beforehand. Well, that's the beauty of it. If you don't know, you're alert. If you know, everything becomes... You know when you were a kid, and a guy hit behind the thing, and you were a little kid, and they went, ah, and you would laugh, and he could do it 50 times, and you would laugh, or a Labrador at the beach. You throw it the first time, 800 times, it's the same as the first time. The dog will not stop fetching that ball until your arm falls off. It's every time there's tails wagging just like the first time. Us, we do one thing, the second time, oh, fuck it. I'm bored. Let me get a new video game. Let's get out of here. This sucks. Yeah? What happened? Same mind, one very conditional, in time, sees something, it just sees how it refers to something else. Oh, fuck it. When you're a kid or an animal, it's new. Yeah.
Why is the mind getting bored, Paul?
What?
Why is the mind
Because it's addicted to what it's not. It's so bored with you, but it's the only you it's got. Shit. If we could find a you better you, we would get it, but it's you. Oh, look, it would love to turn you in to get another one. Seriously. I'm serious.
Is it because we're only using 5% of our brain?
Well, to be what you're not, it doesn't take much. It actually takes a lot less. The more ignorant seemingly you are, the more you're engaged in.
That's like a child, right?
Well, I say it's more childish, not childlike.
Yeah.
It's childish, but not childlike. Childlike is quite cool. And it's a quality of mind that it isn't defined by a certain time that's past. It's available now. I have a lot of wonder and awe in my life. You know, we walked down the street, and we were stunned by about 5 things that most of the people walked right by. We were just stunned, and then they came to use, and we expressed something. And that was only like a 100-yard little thing. I mean, it's all up to you. You've given everything all the meaning it has. Yeah? See, self-centeredness is a form of looking. What does, it causes you to be blind to seeing.
But
Seeing is different than looking.
Is that like awakening, or how would you define that? What you're saying?
Well, I don't like to define it anyway. but if you want to call it awakening, but awakening isn't something that happens to you. Awakening is something that maybe become obvious, but it's always been so. It just becomes obvious to mind. So it's not like most people try to translate it into an event that happened to you. Nothing ever happened to you. All there is happening here. Nothing happened to you. That's the good news. I mean, how can you, in the Course in Miracles, you ever hear the Course in Miracles? They talk a lot about forgiveness, but actually that form of forgiveness in a way is atonement. And atonement is seeing that nothing ever happened here to be forgiven. That's a clear scene. Yeah? When you see that nothing ever happened to me to be forgiven, that's atonement. That's a whole other ballgame. Yeah? So self-centeredness is a form of looking. Sort of like a distorted pair of glasses, yes? We're suffering from the distortion, so we're looking for other pairs of glasses, like Buddhism and other things, yes? To put on to correct those distortions. They will correct the distortions, yes? But now you're saddled with two pair of glasses. Yeah? And so the mind will try to claim the Buddhism too and become a Buddhist, which could be very dangerous, yes? This is about, all right, yeah, let's correct the distortion and then entertain the possibility that what I was calling my eyes are a pair of glasses called self-centeredness, and I can take them off and see again. Yes? Naturally see. Clear, not concentrated, not focused, clear, wide lens type seeing. Yeah? And then in that aperture, a lot goes in and out. And there's a sense of what's moving in and out. And it ain't about you. And it's not from a thing. And you start intimating what's so by its effect on your seeming self, your apparatus as you're living. You come to know it, but you can't know it as an object. You come to know it as itself, really.
So what's your philosophy to life?
What?
What's your philosophy to life?
I don't have one. That's my philosophy. I don't know what I have. I don't do anything, really. I just show up. I understood this view. No, that's what we're presenting here is a view, but then we're talking about vision. They're two different things. A view is an understanding that can help you here. Yeah? But vision is beyond here. Yeah? A vision stabilizes. A view can come and go. You can have a view, but someone talks about another view. You may give up your previous view. But seeing can't be given up. Seeing can't be returned. It can't be altered. It's seeing. Yeah? It's vision. It's different. Yeah. So
I would say the message in selfing is like watching without attachment or pre-assumptions of these things.
it can even be watching attachments. You can watch like your mind is calling you getting attached.
Yeah, so watching attachment, but not getting, maybe reacting or empowering because of that.
No, just not being the one that could react. Even if a reaction occurs, it's not you that reacted.
So in other words, take it the way it comes, without any presumptions or...
Yeah, why not?
And that is what will make the things better, right?
I think that's actually an effect. You can't use that as a discipline. You're not going to get there by entertaining that. If you entertain you're not an idea of the self, that may be a byproduct. But you won't get there through that as a discipline, I don't believe. Yeah? In other words, when the selfing falls away, there's a lot of effects from that. But those effects couldn't be used as a discipline to have the selfing fall away. It's just, I don't see it working that way. It's just entertaining you're not that. And if the mind, if the grace is there or whatever, if the mind goes, aha, and then it actualizes that possibility. And then you see it by its fruits as you're living. Yeah? You're living and things are happening, and yet you're traveling a lot lighter through all these seeming things. And then you know it by its freaking fruits. Yeah?
So what you're saying is you're all right already.
Yeah. But not you. You're the only one that isn't. Because it's me, not you.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I had, I guess you could say, one of those aha moments, like a couple of months back, sort of thing, I guess you could say. And it's sort of like, let's put it this way, it's changed a lot of my perspective in regards to how I perceive life and how I guess you could say, live in life.
Yeah.
The only problem is, though, is that I'm having a hard time trying to keep that perspective. Like there's other, these factors that kind of, let's say, laws, whatever.
Yes.
They kind of keep shifting me back into trying to look at myself as this, I guess you'd say the self.
Yes.
I want to be able to keep it as the non-self. How would I? I know it's kind of like it's
Good luck.
very terrific, but the thing is, though, that I want to be able to keep that shift. But
I know. The thing is, the shift may come and go, but what sees the shift doesn't. You're what sees that shift. You're what sees the emphasis shifting, yeah? You're the seeing of that. That doesn't go. So when the shift seems to go, that doesn't mean the seeing goes. It doesn't. So if the mind gets addicted to the shift, oh, I like this a lot better than where I was before, the mind will grieve and feel like it's lost something. But all the while, that activity is being seen. You're the seeing of it, yeah? In other words, what you and I are more like a neutral position than either a high or a low. We're not phenomena. We're like a neutral state, in a way, of just incessant seeing or awareness, yeah? And in that awareness, there's a lot of movement of mind, yeah? So sometimes the mind moves in a radical way and feels really light and free, only to be afraid of going back this other way. And so there's a attachment or a claiming or trying to cause it not to go there, which actually fuels it to go there. Really? Yeah? Yeah? So if you can see that movement, maybe just emphasize the seeing, not so much the movement. Yeah? Because you're going to see millions of movements. And in a sense, after you've seen one or 1,000 of them, no matter how high or low you think they are, they're all movements after a while. But the seeing is something exquisite. It's exquisite because it's always reliable at all times with no requirement necessary. It's not conditional. It doesn't go through effects or tribulations or tremors or echoes. It's always seeing, incessantly aware. Yeah? It is to be relied on. Hold on a second.
the thing I find is that, let's say, for example, like the seeing, it's, I guess you could, I don't know how to describe it. I guess you could say it's just very simple.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like it's the beautiful, like it's beauty in its simplicity, I guess you could say. Like that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, is like I said, I get complex after a while.
Well, your head goes. Remember, that's not you, bro.
Yeah.
Whatever you appear to be, that's not you.
Yeah.
Whatever can be perceived can't be putting on the qualities that are being perceived onto that, what I'm perceiving. It can only put them on a mind idea or on a body. Yeah? What you are is what's perceiving. You cannot be perceived. What you are is the seeing, not what's being seen. Yeah? What you are is the context, not what's appearing in the context. What brings you the context is what brings you the content every day is context. Content, this is content, does not bring content. Context allows content to be seen. Context is seeing. Yeah? It's not involved in the content. It's not appearing. It's like that space or that sky. Yet it allows everything to appear. And how things are noted is by what's seeing, not the thing that's being noted. I am not noting anything in this room. Seeing is noting it. Yeah? Seeing is bringing me this life. Seeing is this life. Yeah.
Just a few quick points here. In our society, people are not drawn to highs, they're drawn to a sense of excitement, whether it's watching a sporting event. I just want you to comment on that as well, because in many ways, excitement is a form of anticipation. It can be a thought into the future.
Sure.
The second point is, we heard words like awakening. What would you say to kind of the New Age community that's using words like enlightenment, awakening?
Stop. That's what I said.
It's all pride. It's more words and stuff. And then the last quick thing I wanted to ask you is, where are we in the West in terms of psychologists, psychotherapists? Are they doing a service, or are they really just making it even more entrenched when you've got a patient who's becoming even more self-centered? So what would you say about that as well?
Well, the third one, remember, the mind's giving everything the meaning it has. So, in some sense, even a fraud can be very helpful. If the mind's open to it. Someone who all the authorities would say was a fraud has been very helpful for many people. Yeah? So it's what the mind does with it, for that last question. Yes? So nothing is inherently evil. It's what the meaning the mind gives it. Yeah? And I don't think there's evil. It's just different energies. So what was the second one about?
Well, the second one is just all like David Hawkins wrote a book, Power versus Force, and he talks about different levels of consciousness. So I get the real sense that it isn't a question of different levels of vibration, levels of consciousness. It's either from what I'm gathering. It's either you're on, meaning you're not self-absorbed and you're actually observing what's going on, or you're off, meaning you're self-absorbed and you're caught up in your neurosis or attachments or suffering. So from Hawkins' perspective, there's people that are different levels of consciousness, like a guy like Gandhi would be a higher consciousness than say a guy like him, but from your perspective, I'm not necessarily hearing that there are different levels of calibration. It's just you're either on or you're off. Am I hearing that right?
Well, the thing is, you're always on. You can only seem to be off. So it's not an on or off. It's on and a seeming off. And seemingly means it appears to be true or false to you. It doesn't mean it's true. It just appears to be true to you. Yeah? So I don't think there's an off switch to onness. I think there's onness and then there's seemingly off. So once consciousness is claimed as something that I do or get, then it plays in the degree of I can be really unconscious or I can be really conscious. So consciousness and expression can seem to have degrees and appearances, but the state of consciousness doesn't have degrees or appearances, yes? It's just consciousness. Yeah? Yeah. Now, this moment, you ever see a hologram? A hologram? Where they say, if you break a holographic thing into 1 million images, each image has the picture of the whole. Yeah? So, in this sense, each one of us seemingly are broken up as a thing, yes? But the holographic image of the whole is the consciousness of that piece. It's not the bodies. It's not all of us make a whole. It's the undivided consciousness that's moving through every one of these pieces is the same as the whole consciousness. Yeah? Yeah? So, in a sense, the degrees only become seemingly real here in the appearances of bodies. I don't think on the level of consciousness there's degrees, yeah? I don't think there's, I'm on the 40th longitude of heaven now, and you're only on the 38th. So too bad for you. You would love it up here, but you'll never get it.
And the last point, very quickly, was this idea of excitement. For you,
Yeah.
Is that something that isn't useful or something that you still experience? Or?
I experience it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. There's nothing like riding waves. It's very exciting. Yeah. Sometimes it's exciting exploring these ideas with people because I see the mind light up, and the mind got it, and then the people go home and think about it, and they think they've lost it. But I see the ahas occur in people when I share, and I really like that. That's cool. I'm excited about that. And I'm obviously excited about this message, or I wouldn't be. This is, this is like a seat assignment. Yeah? My seat assignment, and first of all, they're all musical chairs. There's no seat with an engraved my name on it. It's just while the music isn't playing, I'm sitting here, sharing this. The music could start, and then they go back to painting, They do something else. Who knows what's going to happen. So, it's just a seat assignment. And that's exciting to me. I love watching mind expand. I have total faith in mind here. Total faith in it. I don't believe you need a browbeating or constant supervision or vigilance or purification. I just believe your mind needs to entertain a possibility it hasn't been introduced to yet. It has the ability to entertain. Look at how much you're entertaining, like the length of my pants. I could go home and go over the whole night. Were my pants too short? Did anyone notice? And I could entertain that for 8 hours. Yeah? Can you imagine if you allowed your mind to entertain something that could possibly be true? What could happen? Find out. That's why I have total faith in mind. I'm just introducing it to you like it was introduced to me. I was practicing a lot of stuff, and this idea of, instead of looking for the next technique of meditation, to ask who's the meditator never dawned on me. And I needed to hear it from someone outside. And when I did, my intention and interest, instead of going out there, trying to figure out how I was going to get an advantage, I questioned, who is it that wants an advantage? Yeah? And then I didn't find anybody. Hallelujah! I swear. I knocked, I called, I texted, nothing. I never got an answer. It would say, well, I'm you. It would say, who are you? Me. Yeah? That's just an identified you. Yeah? Who's that? And nothing. Silence. Yeah? And I kept asking, no one ever came up to the door. So I figured nobody's home. And that's really living. Yeah. So that's all. That's how it happens. So I have that faith. That's why I like to share it, I guess. Because I know that your mind has the ability to entertain us.
What's your take on religion?
Religion?
Like just outwardly we can think.
I don't know. I would say it could be a form of expression, but I don't think it's a way to get anywhere, in my sense. But again, mind is mind, so if the mind... I had a man, his name was Peter Fonda. He was a cobbler. He made shoes for Mother Teresa. He's a little Italian guy on Church Street in New York, in San Francisco. And I got run over by a car, and one of my legs is shorter than the other leg. So I have to get lifts, on my shoes, 5/8 of an inch, so that my back is somewhat balanced. So I found up this guy, and he started making my orthopedic shoes. And I loved going into his little cobbler place. The guy was awake. He had pictures of Mother Teresa. He was a devout Catholic, but this guy was exuding presence unbelievably. Super small guy. He's like 70-something years old. It was just incredible. So I made excuses to stop in there. And I just hang out in this little thing, and I bring him pictures from Thailand of Buddhas, and he was like, ooh, but he put it up, and the Kobe 3D, and he had that up there, and he was going against everything, but he liked me, But his sense of energy, his presence was just very attractive. And he had no idea that he was anywhere. That's what's so beautiful about it, And but I loved it. I like that. I like that sense of certainty that people have, That they're just know for sure something is so. And it's attractive, and I think it's helpful. That's why in India they talk about satsang, association with truth. So if you hang out with people that have a certainty about this, it's contagious in a way, The mind starts entertaining possibilities. He wasn't entertaining before it came in here. That's the beauty of us getting together. We're like a magnification, We all sit here, and then something gets magnified that goes unnoticed in our day-to-day life quite a lot. We're attempting to put a halt to that for a little while and then magnify this possibility. Let's pay attention to it for an hour or two and then see what entertaining that will do to all your other hours. I think it can be a huge influence in how you travel here. Why? Because it's happened, and it's happening. It didn't happen, it's happening. If it was a verb that stopped, it wouldn't be worth its name. It doesn't stop. It's verbing. It's happening. It wasn't an event that could come to an end. It goes on and on and on and on. It's incessantly on. And it doesn't matter what you think or what you feel or what you did or what you didn't do. It has no effect on that. Unless you believe it can. Unless your faith goes into that false thought system, what's so will shine as what's so.
So, Paul, would you disagree with some of the research from a Western science perspective, when they're studying the brain and they're seeing, why addictions are formed or why habits form, and the idea that, whether the brain is plastic or not, but this idea that there's grooves that get created, the same thought, the same action creates a groove. But again, from your sense, it's just this idea that you're just transcending beyond the groove, regardless whether a person's addicted for 20 years or not. If they wanted to, they can snap right out of it.
No. What I'm saying, in a sense, is what illuminates that groove, what brings you alcoholism is seeing. Without the seeing, there'd be no one to be noticing alcoholism. So something moves through the conditionality that the brain that projects, and then that's what we're living in and as. The solution to it is, if your house is on fire, get a pail of water. If you have alcoholism, you better treat it, because it's going to dominate your attention and interest. And you may think you're like a super high level Buddhist, but if you're an alcoholic Buddhist, you're fucked. Because alcoholism will run over the Buddhism. It will. I've seen a lot of people with huge spiritual resumes go out. Because it's like a mental disease. You can't take an x-ray of alcoholism, but you can see its effects on the body. But it changes your perceptions and the thought system. Alcoholism infects the mental process that produces selfhood. So it produces an alcoholic self. That has been categorized and seen for the last 70 years and has been detailed as characteristics, and they're not legion. They're very simple characteristics that everyone who has been taken over by alcoholism demonstrates. That's the beauty of when you go into a recovery meeting. You come into the meeting in the sense of terminal uniqueness. No one ever thought the way I think, and no one ever felt the way I feel, and no one ever did what I did. And then you hear people share their thoughts, their feelings, and what they did, and they sort of sound like yours. And you're like, what? How did they get my thoughts and my feelings? They're not yours. All of us, all of these little minds, seeming minds, have been taken over by one parasite called alcoholism, and everyone's expressing similar traits through them. And all the while the traits are moving through them, the narrator in here is claiming, I'm the one who's doing it. I'm this, I'm that. That's the bondage of self.
And are you saying that most of these addictions are far more similar than different? Not just alcoholism and drugs, but any form of addiction. Is it far more similar in terms of...
Well, I think they're all attempting to get relief from the primary addiction, which is called addiction to self.
And one last question I'm going to ask, and I'll let a couple more questions go, is are you suggesting that something like meditation is really a waste of time in terms of observing?
No, I'm not suggesting anything like that at all. I would say the meditator is a waste of time. Meditation could be really cool, but if it's you meditating, you're going to have to do a lot of time on the pillow. I'm serious, I've done it. So, I don't know, I could be different. Other people might be a lot better off than me, but I did a lot of retreats in Thailand and stuff, and sat 13 hours, 14 hours a day. Well, 7 hours walking, 7 hours sitting, with a thing of soup at 10 in the morning or something. I lost like 20 pounds over time. And had incredible spiritual experiences, as you call them, phenomena, but nothing radically ever shifted. It's when I lost interest in the one who was meditating that everything shifted. So that's why I speak from here. I can't speak from there. Yeah? Because it's not so for me. Yeah? It may have a big role to play, but I don't. To me, I think mind is mind alone. And the mind has the ability, because it's not a time quality. It's timeless. So the solution isn't from there and then. It's always available right now. Yeah?
Let's take two questions, maybe three, before we wrap up that. Dennis, I know you had a question?
Yeah, just in regards to, I guess you could say victimization. Like it seems like a lot of people, they either self-victimize or you see other people that kind of want to play the victim. Like,
Yeah.
that's sort of like, I guess you could say, like an addiction in itself. Is there a way that maybe, like I see, let's say for example, there's one guy I work with. He's like a classic victimized kind of guy. You kind of want to slap him a couple of times just because, like, stop it sort of. Like, you're doing this to yourself. How would, let's say for example, how would I help that guy? Or should I even?
I don't know. Just maybe open up to the possibility of being of help and see what comes. Yeah? In other words, if you open up, let's say, to the possibility of being of service, service may formulate around you. You may see possibilities you aren't seeing. But I don't have any rote answer. This isn't like the 10 Commandments on a tablet. There's plenty of that around. I'm entertaining something that will illuminate whatever you're doing. But the illumination won't be produced by what you're doing, but will illuminate whatever you're doing. Yes? Be it the work thing, be it meditating, being this and that. It will illuminate it. And then you'll know it, you'll know the quote-unquote problem by the solution. See, the sense I have is being meditated, yes? Meditated, like all the time. Meditated, like something, there's an awareness. It's just a feeling. I like it quite a lot, because so wherever I sit, you're already there. Yeah, because it's not like there was some time before you meditated and after you meditated. You're being meditated 24 hours, all the time, sleeping all the time. Something is on all the time. Even in deep sleep is the greatest rest of all, because then there is no selfing going on. Yeah, the mind is resting in its own nature for a few hours, and that's what resuscitates you, regenerates the energy for your next day, basically. Yeah. So that place where we find true rest when we're asleep can be a true restful place when we're awake. Yeah? It's available. Yeah.
What's your take on responsibility?
I hate it. My take on responsibility. I actually call it more accountability for me.
Okay.
So I'm accountable for actions that happen through this. But I think everyone has an overblown sense of responsibility. It's way overboard. Like somebody walks out of the room, I'll feel responsible that they walked out, yes? You know what? Someone you want, oh, it's me. We have an exaggerated sense of responsibility. And for me, accountability works a lot better. When I do my amends in AA, we do a process where you make amends to people that you harm. All of them were accountabilities, not responsibilities. Because I was taken over by alcoholism. I was not under any delusion that I was choosing any behavior. If I drank and used, this was what was going to happen. And that's what happened. So I went back.
How do you distinguish between accountability and responsibility?
Well, accountability is sort of like an action happened, I seem to be involved in it, I'm going to make amends for it.
Okay.
That would be accountability.
Yeah.
Responsibility was action happened, I shouldn't have done it.
Right.
That makes I'm a really fucking terrible person. I'm never going to be able to show my face.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So that's how I sense it. Yeah.
Anyone else before we wrap up there? Okay, I'm gonna take one more here.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about bonds.
Yes.
Okay? So I've heard, and I've struggled with addiction. Smoke is probably the biggest thing I've ever been wired to. The concept of bonds is something for me that people who are addicted to all kind of different stuff have. It's like they have no off switch. So you're talking about a thing that happened for you to set you free of the monkey and addiction you had, or addictions, you sound like that set you free in a different way than I've experienced my own dealing with the demons I got some, right? So what I found helpful to me is stop, don't do it. Just don't put it in your mouth.
Yes.
You know, put tape over your mouth.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Do it. Change. You're talking about change the snap, the
Yeah.
breaking, take the hand out of the shoulder. So, what's your take on that with the on-switch off-switch?
Well, with addiction, again, I always like to use the thing of if your house is on fire, you better get a pail of water. So in Buddhism, they would call them skillful means. So you've got to know where you're at. Yeah. If you're on certain one level of appearance here, that's a consequential level. Entertaining a highfalutin philosophy won't work. Yeah. Your house is on fire. You really believe it is you're saying there is no house and there is no fire. It's not really working. Yeah? So you might as well get a pail of water. So it's a matter of having that flexibility to recognize what's going on, when it's going on. Yeah. So some people, they have to do anything not to have that drink. Yeah. On that level, that's what's necessary. Some people have to be supervised. Like a friend of mine, he cannot make it out here. And he doesn't want to go back in the program, but he has no other choice, no other option. He can't do it. So he has to come to that realization. And he doesn't want to come, so a lot of people have pushed him towards it, because that's the only way it will work for him. He has to have something between him and the next drink, and it can't be him. It's not working. Yeah? So there's a recognition of where you're at and what's at there. So like my body, I have conditions about health that I need to find masters that will help me with those things. Because I have blind spots about certain conditions. I can't see clearly about a condition in my body, but they can. So I find them. And if it works, it's fantastic. A solution occurs here that I couldn't have participated in because I wasn't seeing clearly. So this is about, it isn't like you're beyond or above everything. You're just not what you thought you were. Yeah. The body has its own rules and conditions, and if you don't take care of it, they're going to have effects here that can grab attention and interest of the mind. And when that attention and interest gets sucked into physicality enough, there's going to really be a strong feeling of being a physical self. Yeah? So this is about seeing where you're at, yes, seeing what you need. It's like someone calls me and they're having a happy time not drinking, but they're talking about, but there is no self. I say, fuck that, go into a program tonight. Yeah? This isn't helping you entertaining this idea. Yeah? You're getting loaded. You can't stop. You have a physical craving, and an allergy, and an obsession of mind. Get somewhere. And then you can call me up in a month and talk about non-self and stuff like that. Yes? So, if you have a condition of the body, it's not you having it, it's just the condition of the body, it's best to address it. If you can't address it, find some people that will help you address it. There's plenty of people that will. Yeah, that's what AA is all about. It's a we program. One alcoholic and addict helps another. That's what works. works. Yeah? So, that's what it's about. It's not about, oh, you're not a person, you should be beyond it. There's never been a person. This is just what happens here. Addictions are like mental winds. They are seeking expression, and they found a very good way to express here through this form. And they take minds over. I swear, I've seen people with incredible spiritual resumes, and they have an imbalance of their brain. They need certain chemicals, like depressants, antidepressants. If they don't take them, they go on a crack run. They're smoking crack. I had to pick them up in a motel, a crack motel in San Francisco. And this guy is a highfalutin, big-time, whatever, and there he was, a wreck, physically. And his mind was totally absorbed in selfing. Totally. What he had total immunity to was taken to be real a day later. Totally false evidence appearing real seemed as real to be. Yes? This is a possibility that is not something you entertain once and that's it. It's constantly being entertained by mind. You're not doing it. The mind entertains. Yeah? It doesn't take a break. It doesn't blink. It doesn't go on vacation. It's constantly entertaining. On this, yeah? The mind goes, oh, I'm not doing it today. It has nothing to do with what's happening. It's just a yapping about what's not happening. Yeah? You are that.
So at that point, guys, you're welcome to chat with them afterwards, and then certainly you can contact them afterwards. So I know Rob wants to make a quick announcement before I ask you. Go ahead.